Something is wrong at the 2026 World Cup. Not wrong in the way a bad referee call is wrong, or wrong in the way a goalkeeping mistake is wrong. Wrong in a deeper, more dangerous, more unsettling way. The kind of wrong that does not announce itself with a loud bang, but instead arrives quietly, like a crack forming in a dam, invisible at first, then suddenly impossible to ignore. And if you have been watching closely, if you have been paying attention to everything that has unfolded since this tournament began, then you already sense it too. Something fundamental has shifted. Something that was supposed to hold everything together is coming apart. This is the story of how a single missing image exposed a crisis that FIFA has been building toward for years. This is the story of how the biggest sporting event on the planet became the stage for one of the most dramatic collapses of institutional trust in the history of football. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why that missing offside line was never just about an offside line. You will understand why what happened during Switzerland versus Qatar matters far beyond one penalty decision and one refereeing controversy. You will understand why FIFA, at the very moment it should have been celebrating its greatest tournament, is instead watching the foundations of its credibility crack in real time. Stay with us, because this story goes much deeper than you think. If you have been following this channel, you know we do not chase clicks or manufacture outrage. We follow the evidence, we ask the hard questions, and we hold the powerful accountable. If that is the kind of coverage you have been looking for, subscribe right now and turn on notifications. What we are about to unpack is unlike anything we have covered before, and we are only just getting started. Let us begin with what everyone saw. Switzerland against Qatar. Opening days of the 2026 World Cup. A Swiss player goes down inside the penalty area. The referee points to the spot. Immediately, the replays begin rolling, and millions of viewers watching around the world notice the same thing at the same moment. The Swiss player who was fouled, the player whose contact with a Qatari defender triggered the penalty decision, appears to have been in an offside. Position before the foul even occurred. Not marginally, not in the gray zone where these decisions live. Clearly, visibly, obviously offside, at least to the naked eye of every fan watching on screens across the planet. The call goes to VAR. Everyone waits. The technology that was supposed to end controversy, the system that was supposed to bring certainty and fairness to the game, takes its time. And then the decision comes back. Penalty stands. Switzerland will take the kick. What happens next is where this story truly begins. Because under normal circumstances, when VAR reviews an offside decision of this magnitude in a tournament of this importance, there is a graphic. You have seen it 1,000 times. The semi-automated offside technology produces a precise, mathematically calculated visual, lines drawn across the frame, body positions mapped, the exact moment of the pass frozen in time. And that graphic is shown to the world. It is the proof. It is the evidence. It is the visual confirmation that says, here is what the technology saw, here is why the decision was made, here is the truth. At Switzerland versus Qatar, that graphic never came. Think about that for a moment. The most technologically advanced World Cup in history. A tournament that FIFA has been promoting as a showcase of innovation, precision, and transparency. A VAR system that cost millions to develop and deploy. A controversy playing out in front of a global audience of hundreds of millions. And the one piece of visual evidence that would have instantly resolved the debate. The single image that would have answered every question simply did not appear. It did not appear during the broadcast. It did not appear in the minutes after the decision. It did not appear while pundits were already beginning to ask where it was. It vanished, or perhaps more accurately, it was never shown. And that absence, that void where the proof should have been, became the loudest thing in world football. Within minutes, social media erupted. Within hours, some of the most respected names in football broadcasting were publicly demanding answers. Commentators who spend their careers analyzing the game, former professionals who understand VAR inside out, media personalities with massive audiences, all of them were asking the same question. Where is the graphic? Why has FIFA not shown us the evidence? What is being hidden and why? The criticism was not fringe. It was not coming from anonymous accounts looking for conspiracy. It was coming from the mainstream. From people who cover football professionally. From fans who had watched dozens of VAR reviews in recent years and understood exactly what was supposed to happen. These were not paranoid voices. These were rational people responding rationally to something that did not add up. Because here is the thing about trust. Here is the thing about institutional credibility. When you are an organization like FIFA, trust is not given freely. It is earned through consistent behavior, through transparency, through doing what you say you will do, and showing people the evidence behind your decisions. And when that trust is damaged, when it has been chipped away over months and years, the margin for error shrinks to almost nothing. One unexplained anomaly becomes suspicious, one missing graphic becomes a cover-up, one technical failure becomes proof of corruption. FIFA did not arrive at this moment overnight. This crisis has been building. Before we go any deeper, and we are about to go much deeper, If this is the kind of investigative coverage you have been searching for, this is the moment to subscribe. Turn on notifications. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because what is coming in the next few minutes will connect dots that most broadcasters are afraid to connect. Let us zoom out. Let us look at what else has been happening at this World Cup before the Switzerland-Qatar penalty even took place. Because the missing offside graphic did not land in a vacuum. It landed in an environment that was already saturated with controversy, already bristling with grievance, already primed for exactly this kind of explosion. Start with the tickets. The 2026 World Cup was sold to the world on a promise of accessibility. A tournament spread across 3 nations, 16 cities, more matches than ever before, an event designed to bring football to the widest possible audience. That was the promise. The reality that fans encountered was a pricing structure that locked out enormous numbers of ordinary supporters. Tickets at price points that placed the dream of attending this World Cup beyond the reach of the people who love football most. Fans who had saved for years, who had planned trips around this tournament, who had built their summer around this moment, found themselves priced out. The seats they could not afford remained empty, and about those empty seats. FIFA continued to publish official attendance figures that suggested near-capacity crowds, even when cameras told a completely different story. Television footage showed rows and sections of empty seats in stadiums that FIFA was claiming were full. The images were right there. The numbers did not match. Journalists began reporting the discrepancy. Fans watching from home could see it with their own eyes. And FIFA, the organization, continued releasing its figures without adequately addressing the gap between what it was saying and what people could plainly see. It does not stop there. Travel restrictions created another layer of chaos. Supporters attempting to attend matches encountered logistical nightmares. Ticketing systems that failed at crucial moments. Transportation arrangements that collapsed under the pressure of actual use. Fans who had done everything right, who had followed all the official channels, who had purchased their tickets and booked their travel through FIFA-approved processes, found themselves stranded, confused, or simply unable to get where they needed to be. And then, extraordinarily, even officials were denied entry. Not fans, not journalists, officials. People with formal accreditation, people with verified credentials, people who were supposed to be inside these venues by every measure of the system FIFA had designed. They were turned away. They were blocked. The system that FIFA built to control access to its own tournament was failing against the very people the system was supposed to serve. Each of these incidents, taken alone, could be explained as a logistical hiccup, the growing pains of an enormous undertaking, expected imperfections in an event of unprecedented scale. FIFA would offer that defense, and in another context, an organization with a clean record and a reservoir of goodwill, that defense might land. But this is FIFA, and the reservoir has been empty for a long time. This is an organization that spent years in the shadow of bribery scandals that reached the highest levels of its leadership. An organization whose former president avoided justice through claimed ill health. An organization whose awarding of World Cup hosting rights produced criminal investigations on multiple continents. An organization that moved the Qatar World Cup to winter, disrupting every major domestic league on the planet without offering anything resembling a genuine public justification. An organization that has built a reputation not for transparency but for opacity, not for accountability but for deflection. When that is your history, you do not get the benefit of the doubt. When that is your record, a technical failure does not look like a technical failure. It looks like a decision. It looks deliberate. It looks like exactly what people have come to expect. FIFA's response to the missing graphic controversy came hours later. The official explanation was simple. A technical malfunction had prevented the semi-automated offside graphic from being displayed during the broadcast. The decision was correct. The technology confirmed the decision was correct. Everything was fine. Please move on. Sit with that for a moment. Hours later, after the internet had already drawn its conclusions, after pundits had already gone on record with their criticism, after millions of fans had already processed the missing evidence and reached the obvious interpretation, hours later, FIFA asked the world to accept its assurance that nothing was wrong. And here is the brutal truth of where things stand. Even if FIFA is telling the complete truth, even if it was genuinely nothing more than a technical malfunction, a glitch in a complex system, an unfortunate failure in the middle of a high-pressure broadcast, it does not matter. The explanation does not matter, because the explanation comes from FIFA. And FIFA has spent years ensuring that its explanations carry no automatic weight. FIFA has taught the football world not to trust FIFA, and now, in the moment it most needs trust, trust is the one resource it cannot manufacture. That is the real catastrophe here, not the penalty, not the missing graphic, not even the possible injustice to Qatar in that match. The catastrophe is that FIFA has engineered a situation where a technical glitch is indistinguishable from a cover-up, where an honest mistake looks exactly like deliberate deception, where the organization's own history makes every innocent explanation impossible to believe. The missing offside line has become a metaphor, a symbol for everything that FIFA refuses to show, refuses to explain, refuses to make transparent. Every empty seat official figures deny. Every fan turned away from a tournament they paid to attend. Every unanswered question about how decisions get made at the top of world football. The line that was never drawn on that screen represents every line FIFA has refused to draw in its own conduct. Meanwhile, and this is perhaps the most painful part of the story, the football itself has been extraordinary. The matches on the pitch have delivered everything a World Cup should deliver: drama, upsets, individual brilliance, tactical chess. Moments of pure sporting joy that remind you exactly why this game captures the world's imagination more than any other sport. The tournament FIFA is supposed to be running has produced football worth celebrating, and FIFA keeps stepping on it. FIFA keeps interrupting the celebration with a new controversy, a new grievance, a new reason for the audience to look away from the pitch and toward the organization itself. FIFA has become the story when it should be invisible. The governing body has become the protagonist when it should be the background. The organization that exists to serve the game is overwhelming the game it was created to serve. That is the contradiction at the heart of everything. FIFA's purpose is to make football better, bigger, more accessible, more just. And FIFA right now, during its biggest moment, on its grandest stage, is doing the opposite. It is making football smaller. It is making it less trustworthy. It is making the sport harder to love cleanly, without asterisks and suspicion. So where does this leave us? What happens to an organization that has burned through its credibility reserves and now faces a global audience that greets every official statement with reflexive doubt? What is the cost of operating the world's most beloved sporting event when the fans of that sport no longer believe what you tell them? These are not rhetorical questions. They are the questions FIFA must now answer, not in press releases, not in hours-delayed official statements, but through sustained, structural, demonstrable change. Through accountability that goes beyond words. Through transparency that does not require a controversy to trigger it. Through rebuilding trust the only way trust can actually be rebuilt. Slowly, consistently, through actions that match the promises. Was the missing offside graphic a technical failure? Maybe, perhaps, quite possibly. The technology is complex, the broadcast environment is enormous, systems fail in high-pressure moments. All of that is true. But here is the question that lingers. Here is the question that will stay with you long after this video ends. Has FIFA created an environment, through its history, through its conduct, through its repeated failures of transparency, where it is now impossible to tell the difference between a genuine technical failure and a deliberate act of concealment? Has FIFA made itself incapable of being believed, even when it is telling the truth? That is not a question about one penalty in one group stage match. That is a question about the soul of the institution that governs the game we love. That is the question hanging over every match remaining in this tournament. Every decision, every graphic that appears, and every graphic that does not. The football is beautiful, the crisis is real, and FIFA, standing at the center of both, seems unable to get out of its own way. What do you think? Was this a simple technical malfunction? Or does FIFA's record make that explanation impossible to accept? Drop your answer in the comments. We read every single one, and this conversation matters. If this video gave you something to think about, like it, share it with someone who follows football, and subscribe if you have not already. We are going to keep following this story wherever it leads, because the 2026 World Cup is far from over, and if these opening days are any indication, the biggest controversies may still be ahead. The line was missing, and somehow, that absence said everything.